teacups, what's brewing? I hope you've been doing well. I realize it's been a while. I think it's been 8 or 9 days since I last have a video up. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. But apart from me being busy, which by the way, before I get into this, most of this video is going to be just an update with me. I know not everyone is there for that. So I'm going to put a timestamp either in the chapter bar or somewhere on the screen where we are going to discuss Chantal's non-apology in the community tab, but that's going to be at the end of the video. So if you're not interested in what's going on with me, feel free to skip ahead. Yeah? Okay. Thank you. If you're still here. Shit's been quite busy for me. Yeah. And I know I say that a lot and whatever, but yeah, it has been. I think I told you last time I did one of these little updates that we're on Ramadan timing at work. And what that means is they've made no changes to the curriculum. They have changed none of the grading requirements, but we now have half the time to achieve it. So we're working twice as hard. I don't know how the teachers who are actually fasting are doing this. I don't take food and drink into school at the moment because the kids are fasting, and I usually just drink coffee in the morning. I don't have a breakfast, but I eat when I get home and they have to wait until the iftar. So I don't know how they're doing it and still awake and functioning, quite frankly. Just bless them all. But it's been busy. I've just been running around like a headless chicken every day at work to try and get stuff done because we have to move so fast and transferring them and then getting the grading done in half the time. You're constant going. So if I'm messing up my words, by the way, I wanted to say constantly on the go there. It is after work right now. I am a little bit tired and my words tend to start getting mixed up once once I'm released from my professional situation because I've just put a lot of energy into it. So Ramadan is still with us. We're about to enter, it might be today. The final 10 days is considered the most important time in Ramadan. For those of you who don't know, Ramadan is actually a month in the Arabic calendar, and it ends in Eid. So what it means for us is we have an Eid holiday. I know a lot of people have just finished Easter. In the UK, Easter is a really big holiday. We have like a couple of weeks off. I know in other places it's just a long weekend. But Eid holiday is kind of like a really blasphemous way to describe it, comparing it to Easter, I suppose. But it's a big holiday in the calendar. Now, we were supposed to break up on Tuesday. So we were going into school Sunday, Monday, but Tuesday we were off. And there was a decree from the king saying, no, we're going to start the holiday, we're going to adjust it, and we're actually going to start it tomorrow. At the end of tomorrow, we are on holiday. So I'm going to be on vacation, and I was going to say hopefully have a bit more time, but a lot's been happening. So anyone who follows any of my personal shit knows that I am currently setting everything up to be able to go on to my next job. Anyone who's new to the channel, I work in Saudi Arabia at the moment, and my job is going to finish at the end of this year. I've chosen to leave it, and I've gotten a new job elsewhere in the Middle East. So I'm currently figuring out visa stuff. If you follow me on Twitter, you have been with me for the saga of the police check. So part of the fact that I work in teaching is that I need to have a clear criminal record. I need to be able to prove that obviously there's no safeguarding issues. So to do that in Saudi Arabia, you have to go request a letter from your embassy who give you a letter and say, hey, we do not issue these things anymore. Please use their Igama, which is their residency permit, and her British passport to allow her to apply for one here. Please use it in lieu of the standard Saudi ID. You then go and get that attested. You then take the attested letter to the police station. You apply, you wait usually a couple of weeks, a week for dependents, a couple of weeks for other people. I think mine was actually a week, so I might be getting that wrong. I was working off a web page that was telling me what to do, and I think it was slightly outdated, or it may have been that the person doing it was either Indian or Filipino, and so the procedure might have been slightly different for them. I think mine said come back in a week, but then I couldn't because I was doing stuff at work and I was having to take time off work because they only operate between the hours of 10 and 2. And so I can't not miss work to do it because then they're not open at any point where I'm not in school. So I went back to get it yesterday. And it went so smoothly. You know when you build yourself up and you're ready for a fight and you're ready for everything to go wrong and then it all goes perfectly and you're not quite sure what to do with yourself? So I went to the police station. I had a 10 o'clock appointment. The MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is like 15-20 minutes away by car. Both of them are quite far from my school though. So I was like, okay, I need to pick up this police check. I need to go, I need to get it attested because otherwise I was going to have to take a 4th period off of work at some point, which I didn't want to do. And then I've got to get back for my next lesson. And I arrived at the police station. I've got some footage actually. There was a weird moment when I went in. I do talk about it. Okay, so when I was in China, this is probably a very blasé, wow, I'm losing my words, way to say this, and I realize that the underpinnings on it are actually terrible, but we have a phrase that used to come up in China which definitely applies here, which is essentially the right kind of foreign. When you have like the right passport and you look the kind of foreign people want to see, which is like, oh, the stereotype, the white hair, the blue eyes, you know? And it makes life easier for you than if you are foreign with any other skin color. And I'm sorry that that is the case, but that is the case frequently. And I had something happen. I think I filmed it, so if I've got the footage, I'll put it in here. So I'm just waiting in the police station. So I got here, and before we had to park outside. And my driver went up to the front and he was like, can we park inside? Because it's a bit of a walk and it's hot and whatever. And he looked at my driver and he was like, it made him open the window and look at me and he said, is she American? In Arabic. And he went, no, she's from the UK. And he let me park inside. And my driver said he's tried that with the South Africans and they wouldn't let him in. Even like when the South Africans are white. But when we talk about the right kind of foreign, however horribly racist it is, like this is the difference it makes having white skin, blue eyes and the right passport. When we talk about the right kind of foreign, I've joked about it in China when like I'm in every piece of marketing material for a school. This is the kind of difference it makes. There's absolutely no signal in here at all, so I can't browse or anything. I don't know if it's by design or just by how the building's built. But I'm currently sitting in a little women's only waiting area. Last time I got here, the main waiting area, the lady wasn't here yet, just like today, because it's Ramadan and she won't get here until my appointment time at 10. But there were only women in the waiting room, so they hadn't opened this section yet. But because when I got in there were already men waiting, there's like a little separate area here, and then there's the door I showed you. So I'm not sitting with them. Usually most places these days aren't that strict about segregating like that. When you go to a lot of malls, there are often separate entrances, but they're not really used anymore because the laws were lifted. However, in some places like this, in more traditional areas, they still keep up with it. She's arrived and actually brought me into the women's area now. Remember I told you the desolation we need to walk through? We're heading for the far corner. I've got to go over this little wall and over there. So you get to here, you walk over this door and there's this stuff going on right here. And right behind here is where you think your organs are going to be harvested, and we go around. Okay, I am back in the car. They take your phone from you when you go into MOFA, so I couldn't show you anything there, but it is 5 to 11, which means we're right on track to get me back in time. The school is quite far away from the office, which is the big worry because I've only got a certain amount of time for my next lesson, and I told them I'd miss one lesson. They subbed me for that. So luckily we're all on time. I can't remember what I mentioned in the last clip, but the police check went super fast. I literally went and picked it up, which I've been really concerned with because I had a friend go the other week and she had a lot of problems. I think maybe they had messed up hers rather than it being an ongoing thing. So I'm just heading back to school now. I'll do my work day and I'll go home. So anyway, you saw the little area I was in, and the lady, because I was in the ladies only area, who was processing all my stuff, came in and I was the only one waiting. And no one else was there. There were quite a few men in the other waiting area because you go through it and they like usher you through to the ladies. But there was no one waiting with me. So she just opened the door. She was like, hey, sister, come on through. And just gave me the paper. I was so worried because a friend of mine had gone, when I had gone to apply, she was picking up. And I think actually they screwed up and forgot to process her work because she was there for an hour and a half and she was running around trying to get the signatures because she was like, I cannot come back, and they wanted her to come back for a third appointment. So I think someone had messed up, not processed it, and then they were trying to take a week to do it again. And she was like, nah, I need to go now. And I was terrified that that was going to happen to me because I wasn't sure of the reasons why that was happening. And I was like, I can't afford to do that right now, you know, in terms of the time it would take. But she just literally handed me the paper. I was under the impression I had to pay like 100 SAR to do it. And she was like, no, there's no fee for this. It's like, amazing. I was back out in the car by the time we hit 10 o'clock and then went straight over to attestation and got back and everything went smoothly and I was amazed. So the hardest part of the paperwork I have to get here in Saudi is now done. What this means is I get to go home next week and do a ton of other stuff. Is it next week? Oh my goodness, it's actually, no, it's 20th now, 21st. Yeah, I'm flying on the 27th, so in a week. So I'm gonna go home. I could technically have done this like via post, but I just don't trust anything getting here safely. And if I lose any of my original documents, I'm entirely screwed. So anyone who doesn't know about sort of going for international visas and things for work permits, particularly in the Middle East, I've also worked in China, so Asia has a lot of requirements for this as well. There's a lot of stuff you have to show to prove that you're qualified to be a teacher, essentially. So what they're doing right now in my new job is they're working with the Board of Education to create my employee file, so that they can approve me for hiring. Because even when I got my contract, they were like, this only becomes legal upon approval by the Board of Education. So I sent them like my degree certificates, one of my letters of employment. So you have to get letters from all your previous schools that say, oh, Milk Tea was employed here from this time to this time using this passport number and this date of birth, and her experience is essentially real. You know, like, this can be used for whatever purpose you need it to be used for. And so you get one of those from each of your schools and then you send it off to prove, yeah, I said on my CV, which you also send them, that I did this, here is the proof. So it's a lot of paperwork and I haven't had to show that before. I've been able to put my experience on and give my letters of reference and that's been it. But for this particular board, they don't just want the letter of reference, they want an actual document verifying the employment. So that's been fun and games. Luckily, my Chinese school, the school I worked at before this, was willing to be very helpful with me. They sent me a new one that they'd made, but I had an unfortunate realization when I was checking my passport to make sure the visa was correct. Because fun fact about Chinese visas is they are only valid so long as your work contract is valid, because it's an employment visa. But then that means they have no grace period. It's not like you have to leave within a week of this expiring. It's like, you gotta go. Like the last day of my visa was the last day I was permitted in the country. So they had to release me from work early so I could get to the airport that afternoon and get out. You've got like literally those 24 hours. So I had to go. And, so I was checking through. She was like, hey, could you just double check your visas, your old visas, to make sure that the dates I have for you are correct so that you've got no issues later, which was very kind of her. But as I was looking through my passport, I realized that I've actually got very few passport pages left, and you need Usually for a visa, you need at least a double page, and I've got like a double and one single. So as I'm going in and out of the UK, if they stamp the wrong page, I've got no space for my passport. Now my visa. Now my passport runs out in a couple of years, but better just to get it renewed. So that's another thing I'm doing next week. Luckily they have a fast track option, which means that I pay extra, like for an extended passport, extended being like 50 pages for frequent travelers. It costs, I want to say 115, I think. For the fast track option, which I'm taking, which is 1 day, they cancel the passport the day of, and you walk out of the half-hour appointment with a new passport. It costs like 189. You would upload all the information before you go because it's a renewal. They've already confirmed all your ID and everything. You show up with the passport, you swap it out. I will travel back on with both passports. I'll show my new one and compare my old one because my old one will have the visa in it still. And at the airport, before I go into immigration, there's like a counter you can go and they'll transfer it over for you. So I've got all that happening. I've got to go home, get all my documents. So I need, here I've got my degree certificates, I've got my letter of employment for this school, and I've got a digital copy of my letter of employment for my last school. So I need to go home, I need to get my previous letters of employment from schools before that. I need to get my birth certificate, I need to get my academic transcripts, because usually I'm just asked for my degree certificate, but this time no, they want all the transcripts. I need to get all of those scanned. I'm going to print out the scans, and what I'm probably going to do, the school hasn't asked me to do this, but if they need to get anything attested, which usually needs to be done, they'll need certified copies of those. So I'm going to make colour copies. I'm going to take them to the post office in the city centre, and I'm just going to get them notarized so they can say this is a true and correct copy. I'm going to bring both my original documents and my notarized documents copies back with me, and whichever ones they need I will send. When I checked what was usually required, they said usually, not with them, with just general sources, usually it has to be notarized the way I'm going to be doing anyway, and then it has to be attested by the FCO, which I've gone through before, but they don't need embassy attestation. And the principal at the new place had said, if you have any problem with attestation, just send the documents on. So as long as I've got those certified copies, I can just send them on to the new place. And I think they can just take them to the embassy and do them, or take them to the correct office and have them done if it's required, which is good because the school will repay any costs, but usually I'll have to pay them up front. With Saudi, it was a little different because they had a partner they worked with in London. So the partner sent the school the bill directly. Whereas with my Chinese one, I had to pay it first and be reimbursed on arrival. So I can do either, but sometimes it's nice to not have to, because then you don't need to invest that money up front. I'll see what happens, but if I've got the copies, then you never send originals to be attested. You always send a copy, which is why I need them notarized. So I'm hoping if I bring all that back, like I said, I've contacted them and I said, I'm going to be in the UK for 6 days. You need anything done, you need anything sent, you need anything that I'm going to need to be in the UK for, tell me now, or hold your peace until July when I finish. So we will see. I'm hoping I can just send them all the stuff in scan form. I'll have the notarized copies as backup if they do need it physically sent, because I can send that from Saudi if I need to. It's easier from the UK, but I can send it from Saudi if I need to. And then hopefully it'll just be a case of coming back in July and applying for the work visa, because it seems like most of the stuff needed to be done is done on their end, and then they just open up the folder or whatever in the embassy and go, yep, everything's been approved, and they let me in, essentially, which is how, when I worked in Indonesia, Indonesia was such an easy visa process, jeez. But when I worked in Indonesia, it was very much the same. All the stuff was done on their end, and then I just showed up at the visa application. They were like, yep, no problem, thank you. I'm hoping it will be that easy. The one thing I haven't heard about is the medical. Usually you have to do a medical. The requirements are different from country to country. With China, I had to do a full medical before I went. I had to be signed off by a doctor as not having TB. I had to do a panel at the sexual health clinic, because fun fact, if you have a bloodborne disease, or if you have a disease like HIV, if you're HIV positive, there are a lot of countries that just will not give you a work visa. China will not. I don't believe Saudi will either. So you frequently have to prove before you go, you have to take a blood test and be like, nah, I'm clean, essentially. And then what else did I have to do? I had to do something else. It wasn't just HIV, I had to prove some other things. You have to prove vaccinations, obviously, and some other stuff. I had a chest x-ray for the TB just to make sure, but China said if the doctor says no signs, you don't then have to have additional testing. I can't remember what else I had to have. With Saudi, I had to have a blood test before they would let me in, but I had a full medical. It was required I have a full medical when I arrive. And I did that through a Saudi hospital. So I haven't heard anything on the medical requirements for my new job yet, and I guess I will hear those later. But I can use clinics here. That wouldn't be the end of the world. One of the nice things actually about staying within the Middle East is that if I get documents, usually documents are half English, half Arabic, but some of them are obviously heavier on the Arabic. My criminal record check, the stamp that's on it that says no criminal record is in Arabic and English. And then where each section that is filled in is in Arabic and English. So date of birth, it's written in Arabic and then it's in English on the other side. But all of the answers are in Arabic. But fortunately, because it's going and staying within the Middle East, I don't need to pay to have those translated. I can do if I need to, but if I was going to a different country, I would have to pay to get all these documents translated first. So I'm glad it's a step I don't have to go through. So anyway, I've been talking for 20 minutes. Hi. If you don't know me, I'm wordy. That's what I'm going to be doing at home. It's not going to be a restful trip, put it that way. It's going to be moving very quickly. I'm really hoping the passport goes smoothly, but it means after this trip, in theory, knock wood, turn around 3 times and spit, in theory, most of the hard stuff for me will be done. And it's just a case of going back and applying in the summer. So that's why I've been so busy at the moment. I'm working extra hard at work, even though the hours are shorter. I'm working twice as hard because the hours are shorter and we still have to do all the work. But that's the plan that I've got in place for the next week. I've got like a 4 or 5 day period because of the extended holiday, because of the decree. I'll have 4 or 5 days where I can just rest and chill here. So I might have some videos out depending on what's happening. But the rest of it is going to be quite busy. I'll maybe try and vlog while I'm there, but it will really depend on what I'm getting done. Okay, so what else? You know what makes me laugh? When Chantal is like, oh, I just want to move to here, I just want to go, I just want to do these things. This is the stuff you have to do to enable that to happen. And it never fails. Like, you remember when she went to Cuba and she didn't realize that she would need to take more cash and a lot of that kind of stuff. That's secondary. Like, physically getting into a country to work can be incredibly taxing and can take a lot of paperwork, a lot of organization. And I'm quite experienced in this. Like, I have the ability to do this. I have the experience doing it in other countries. So I at least, if I don't know the exact procedure, I at least know where the most likely trip ups for the red tape are. And I couldn't imagine Foodie going through it. I really couldn't. I mean, God bless her if she wants to try, but I really couldn't. Other than that, I haven't really been covering Foodie because she's been kind of boring. Yes, I know she called whatever that channel was a monkey, but it's very on brand for her. Do we expect her to be anything but racist and gross? I don't at this point. I really don't. I used to hope for more for her, but not anymore. So it wasn't really anything that we could say anything new on. Oh, it wasn't her that said it. Nada said it, and then she defended it and tried to excuse it. And it's like, really? But is it surprising? No. So there we are. It didn't feel much worthy of comment. We saw the inside of the pot. It was moldy. It was really gross. But literally, that's not worth a video in and of itself. So there we are. However, I would like to talk a little bit about her recent community messages. So let's try that. Excuse the cut there. I started talking and then I had a phone call saying, oh, your Amazon parcel is coming. And I decided just to make myself coffee. So I'm sure you all remember Cuba Rage. We just did discuss it quite extensively. Did you actually know? Did I discuss it extensively with friends? I put that clip show up. That's what I did. I felt that that was self-explanatory. I had planned to do a longer react and then time got away with me. But you saw what she was like, I'm sure. And she's been going on since about how she needed to make an apology video. Because remember, she's going to manipulate us all and we're going to eat it up. Never forget, my friends. And this is just another example of that. So she's been going back and forth and like, oh no, I really need to reflect on what I'm sorry for, because she's not sorry for fucking anything. She is not sorry for anything. It doesn't take that long, you know? If you're sorry, it's because you recognize there's a wrong. If you really have to think to decide if you were wrong or not, you don't give a shit. And she doesn't give a shit. So we got a post. Now, some of these are edited. I haven't seen the originals, so if they've changed, I apologize. I decided not to do a video apology for the Cuba rage. I will, however, sincerely apologize right here for getting blackout drunk and saying some of the most horrible shit I ever did in my life. I did not mean most of it. I cannot even remember most of what was said. So here is my problem. And she's done this before with apologies. Just there's no, sincerely is absolute horseshit. Get it out of here. I'm not interested. Her back and forth between, I don't remember it, but it definitely wasn't that bad. And I remember this much. She remembers enough to defend, but not to really acknowledge. And if you're not acknowledging the wrong and the hurt that was done, then you cannot apologize for it, because without the acknowledgement, apologies are meaningless. Yeah? It's essentially saying, sorry, your feelings are hurt, which is something she's done before. And you cannot defend something as either not being so bad or not what you meant, while also saying, oh, but I don't remember. And let's exchange this blackout drunk business. She's said it before and before and before, where she's been like, oh, I was drunk. I was so drunk. Oh, you're going to blame me for what I said when I was blackout drunk? Let's take what she said and let's change it with something else that would be unacceptable. Let's imagine this conversation. Well, I didn't mean to slash his tires. I barely even remember. I was drunk. You can't blame me for things I do when I'm drunk. When Nada hit her, he'd had tequila. He was drunk. She reported him to the police. You don't get to use I was drunk as a cop-out. You can't handle your drink. Don't drink it. You know you're an adult. You know what situation you're pulling yourself into. You chose to do it, and therefore you bear the consequence for it. Were you in a good frame of mind to make good choices while blackout drunk? Of course you weren't. Infamously, it's a bad state to be in for that. However, the fact that you got there was entirely your own doing. So you get to keep the consequences. You don't want them, don't get blackout drunk. But if you're going to sit here and be like, oh, I think I remember that and it definitely wasn't that bad, you do remember some of it. I wouldn't be surprised if she hadn't remembered any of it, but she clearly does remember some of it, or is getting pieces of it fed back to her by trusted individuals so that she can defend herself. There's no defense for this. I was drunk does not wave that magic wand and delete anything you may have said that was unacceptable to your audience or to anybody else. So I don't get it as a defense. I was drunk. Well, you know, I shouldn't have smashed the window, but I was drunk. You can't really blame me. Yeah, I shouldn't have done this, but I was drunk. You can't really blame me. It doesn't wash, and I'm not here for it. Okay, so I did not mean most of it. I cannot even remember what most of what was said. Those two things are mutually exclusive. Either you remember most of it and therefore didn't mean it, or you don't remember it and therefore you're talking out your ass. I will not let this moment define me as an entire person, though. This isn't the moment that will define you as an entire person. It's never been. This is an accumulation of many examples that we have seen repeatedly, particularly within the last year. She's really been showing her ass, literally and figuratively. But there are many examples of the kind of things that she was saying while blackout drunk. Being blackout drunk lowers what small filter we might say she has on herself, but we've seen her sober and saying these things. We've seen her sober having said these things while under the influence of one thing or another and doubling down on it. Charlie Cole, remember that? doubling down on it, tripling down on it, and then pretending to do the apology. Pete has explained to me why this is wrong, but I'm actually not sorry at all. I didn't come to that conclusion myself, just like she hasn't here. I would try to be better. No, you won't. You've had multiple opportunities to do that, and here we be. I have also decided not to rewatch it, as I don't need to be brought into such a horrible headspace again. But it's fine for her to put her viewers into that headspace. It's fine if she did something that might be damaging to you. It's fine if she triggered you. It's fine if she called you a piece of shit. It's fine if she insulted you. As long as she doesn't have to take accountability for it and she doesn't have to feel bad. Fuck all of you. Doesn't matter if all of you felt bad and might have appreciated the apology. Now, she doesn't have that kind of impact on me. She's not going to make me feel bad. At most, she makes me feel tired. But to say directly to the people who were paying to support her, and she was just insulting left and right. So this is, I have absolutely no intent of taking accountability, despite the fact that all of this is on camera and all of it could be addressed, and I'm not going to. I'm not actually sure if this would improve anything. I don't think after this amount of time anyone would take it as sincere, but here we are. But, you know, I don't want to be dragged down into this. No, you don't want to answer for it. That is what you don't want to do. And here we are. So that was the first. Yeah, she's done others since. So the apology video that she really had to consider and had been for days. Oh, okay, no, I'm not going to do it. A shock to no one. She didn't do the last one either. But if you have to say, no, I'm going to wait and think about it, bitch, you ain't sorry. Okay, let's move on to 3 hours ago edited. I don't know if it was edited for like spelling or if it was severely edited. I haven't been able to find the original. Why do people watch me only to complain about me and my nonsense? We're invested, love. Honest question, do you think a creator should change their content and ways for, just for thousands, I misread that, just for thousands of individuals who don't really know them? No, I don't, but we'll get back to that in a minute. I'm going to read the whole thing. Wouldn't it make more sense for those individuals to just move on and watch something else instead of the constant BS? I'm actually generally confused. I don't think you're that confused. Just as most of you, I sometimes find her sentences hard when I shouldn't. I'm actually generally confused, just as most of you are confused by my behavior. Why not, just click off? You know when she tells people to fuck off? This is a slightly less rage-filled way to say it. I get it, you hate me, you win, I suck. So childish. It's so childish. I get it. I suck. Get out. I get why she's maybe done with it, but this is pure. I don't want to answer for this. Stop bringing it up. Stop stopping me from being able to brush it under the rug. How dare you? How dare you? It's your problem, not what I'm producing, but your problem. Now, the one thing I would say, I don't believe people should change themselves for their audience. An example I will give within my own channel, particularly at the beginning of this channel, I used to get a lot of comments saying, I hate it when you use goddamn and Jesus Christ, because it means more to me than it does to you, essentially. And I acknowledge that there are people out there that don't like it. I understand it. It is the way I talk. It is not offensive to me. And it's not something I'm going to change. It's part of my vernacular. Now, you could argue, of course, while there are other worse words that she could argue are part of her vernacular. Of course you could. But there comes a point, I think, when you look at the nuance of how offensive it is, where I think there is a clear difference. Yeah? But what I basically said to those people, because I used to get it every now and again, was, I understand, but it is your choice to watch this. Yeah, it is your choice to watch this. I'm not going to be changing the way I speak. Yeah, so I get her argument here. I get why you're like, why not just turn off? And the answer is because I'm invested. I'm less invested than I used to be, perhaps. Yeah, because you can see from my outpoint, Jesus Christ, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. My output of videos, that I am less invested than I used to be because it just takes too much time for the payoff, quite frankly. but she has built, maybe not the audience she wants, but she has built an audience and we're with her. And especially with how things are now, there's a certain morbid fascination with her where you're like, at what point does this just break her? At what point does this house of cards fall? At what point do these consequences just pile up and smack her in the face? Because she talks about karma a lot, and I think there are a lot of people, maybe I wouldn't use the word karma because I'm not big on it, to be honest, but there are a lot of people I think who are like me, who just look at it slightly open-mouthed and go, but something's got to give at some point, surely. Things can't continue like this. People can't continue like this. And I keep watching it. I thought perhaps when her channel was taken down, maybe that was going to be it. I really did. I was like, because I will fully sit here and say my channel depends on her channel. I am not this particular channel. I've had other YouTube channels before, but this particular channel, it depends on her being around because it's a reaction channel to her. It was going to be on more YouTubers, but my interest waned and my interest stayed with Foodie longer. So if she stops, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to change who I'm reacting to. I like being online. I like making videos. I might end up vlogging. I might end up doing video games. I might end up doing a number of other things. But me as a reactor, I really react to this and that's it. So if she stops, I stop. Yeah? But I want to see what happens. And I really did think when she got yeeted, I thought, okay, well, that will be the end of it. And then she came back. And again, that fascination of, but how? How is she still this? How? Having gone through that, did she devolve so quickly into Cuba rage? How does she survive in life the way she seems to? And I'm using the word survive. I realize there's a lot of people that you'd be like, well, you couldn't pay me the amount of money she earns to live in the way she lives. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to for me. Like, yes, she makes a comfortable amount of money, but would you live the way she does for the sake of it? I don't think I could. But I am fascinated. I'm just like, how though? How long is this gonna go on before you either completely screw it up, or at what point is everyone just gonna rebel and you lose everything? Because I feel like no matter what happens, I think she's gonna go out with a bang, not a whimper. All right? I don't think she's just gonna fade away. I think something will happen, be it channel cancellation, which is also very likely, but be it some major health event, be it something. But I've invested this much time and I want to see what happens, because I can't believe she's lasted as long as she's lasted, but I can't believe she couldn't. So to say, why do you keep watching? It's actually because, in a weird way, as boring as she is a lot of the time, it is interesting to see it continue. And I want to know how it ends. So there we are. So you hate me. Hate's a very strong emotion. I dislike her. I very much dislike some of her choices. I hate some of the language she uses when describing people. Do I hate her? I find the way she lives a little bit too... Is pathetic the right word? Pathetic sounds super harsh. I guess I do mean it like this, but I don't mean it to sound like this. The state of her life is so far removed from what I would consider to be a good life, even if it's well-funded. I find her a little bit too pathetic to hate. And I realize how harsh this sounds, I really do. But she's got nothing but this. If anything, the last year has shown us, it's that her life is entirely wound up in what she does. So I don't hate her. I don't like her, but I don't hate her. And this attitude is not helping things at all. You win, I suck, yeah, go away. But all this, like, I genuinely concern. Why? Please explain. I don't understand. Don't have a lot of time for this. You understand what you're doing. And then it says 3 hours ago again. So she must have put this up right after. I do need to do an apology video. Bitch, are you kidding? Are you kidding? I'll watch it, don't get me wrong. I don't think she'll actually do a video. I think she'll slip it into a live stream somewhere. But I do need to do an apology video after all this, like it's gonna do anything. I tell you now, any apology video she does, if she ever does one, it's just gonna make things a lot worse. And then 15 minutes ago, bear in mind she's been off for 2 days, probably with Nada. This is a different message. A message of love to those who don't hear it enough. She's going full on like helpline with you. I love you. I love you for supporting me, for being interested in my life. I always come on here and address haters, so I really want you all to know that despite my crappy attitude sometimes, I do appreciate you all. I'm gonna manipulate you so hard and you're gonna eat it up. Remember, she knows exactly the kind of reaction she's gonna get. She knows exactly. She knows that we know where she's been. She knows what she's doing. And all this is a desperate grab that I better build up some goodwill real quick because they're not gonna appreciate this at all. And she is so far past that point where that's gonna be possible. She is so far past the point where people are gonna be like, oh, she really does love us. Let's forgive her. That I don't know where she thinks she is, but the answer is Nada's and it's not it. Yeah, so there we go. Okay, this was a longer video than I expected it to be, but we're here, we've done it, and we'll see what comes next, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.